Hello everyone. Previously, we completed the Java Absolute Beginners tutorial, right? Today, we'll be continuing with the Java first project. We'll be building a very simple calculator that performs addition, subtraction, multiplication, as well as division. Let's start, right? I'll just come here. Let me right click and hover on new and create the new Java class. I'll just name this simple here. Yeah, simple calculator. Let me hit the enter button, right? So what we have done now, we have defined a public class named simple calculator. So next, what am I going to do? So I'll just define the main method. I'll just give public static string args, right? What we have done here, we have defined a public class named simple calculator. Also, we have defined the main method. Next, what I'll do, let's create a scanner object for the for getting the user input, right? For that, I'll just give scanner new scanner. So you can see here, this one got automatically imported, right? So we have imported the scanner class from the for the user input from the Java util package, right? So I'll just give sorry, this has to be system dot in. So what we are doing here, we have created a scanner object for the user input. Next, what we'll do, let's prompt the user to enter two numbers. I'll just comment this one and write so that it is easy to understand, right? Just for the reference purpose. We'll prompt user to enter, two numbers. So I'll just make use of sout. Here I'll just give enter first number. We correct this one. Yeah. What we have done, we are reading the first number input from the user. So we have to. Yeah. We have not done that. I'll just make use of double. Let me keep num1 scanner. Let me give next double, right? So what we are doing here, we are reading the first number input from the user. Next, let's read the second number input from the user as well, right? Let's initially, I'll just make use of sout and give the same thing. But this time, we'll give enter second number, right? This is one thing. Let me give double num2 equals scanner. Let's make use of the next double, right? So we are reading the first and second number input from the user here. Next, after this, what I'll do, let's prompt the user to choose the operation. So I'll just comment this one and write prompt user to choose operation. So I'll just make use of sout. Within this sout, I'll just give choose operation. Let me give plus, minus, and finally this one, right? So next, let's read the operation choice from the user. For that one, I'll just give char Let me give the variable name operation equals scanner. Next, just make use of caret. Let me give initially 0. Nothing but we are reading the operation choice from the user. Next, let's initialize the variable to store the result. How can we do that? I'll just make use of the double. I'll just give here result equals 0. We have initialized the variable to store the result. Next, let's perform the calculation based on the operation. I'll just comment this one and write perform the calculation based on the operation. So now let's make use of the switch, right? I'll just give switch of, let me give operation. Initially, I'll just give case, just give plus, right? For this one, let me give a result num1 plus num2. So what we are doing here, this one is for the addition, right? Let's make use of the break as well. So here, why this is, what is wrong? The value num1 to assign to the result is never used. I'll just copy this one again. Let me copy and paste the same thing, right? 4 times. Here, instead of plus, I'll just give minus result, this one. Here also, I'll just give num1 minus num2. This one will be here. I'll just change this one to subtraction, right? Here, instead of plus, I'll just change this one to multiplication, num1 into num2, right? Just change this one from addition to multiplication. Finally, here, this one, I'll just set this one to this one num1 by num. So, in this one, I'll just give here division check for division by 0, right? That's what we are doing. So finally, we have given break here. So this has to be basically, let me make use of if condition here. If num2, the condition I'll just make use of is if num2 not equal to 0, right? So I just come here. Let me close the if statement here. Else, I'll just make use of s out. I'll just print error we cannot divide the number by 0, right? That's what I'm giving here. Cannot divide by 0. This is one thing. After this, I'll just give return, right? So what we are doing here, we are exiting the program if division by 0. Finally, we have given break here. After, we have to give default as well, right? Just make use of the default. Let me print. I'll just make use of s out and let me give error. In this case, I'll give invalid operation, right? After this, I'll just make use of Let's exit the program. If invalid operation will be returning nothing, right? So after this, let's display the result. How can we display the result? I'll just make use of out and I'll give result one thing. Let's concatenate the result. This one here, we have made use of the result 4 times, right? Nothing but we are concatenating the result. Finally, what I'll do, I'll make use of scanner dot close. What we are doing here, we are closing the scanner object, right? So this is it. Another I missed on this one. Okay. Now, anything? Did I miss anything? So this is fine. Yeah. Let's run the code. Let's wait for some time, right? So this is asking to enter the first number. Let me give 50. Let me hit enter. And then enter second number. I'll just give 10. Let me hit enter. It is asking to choose the operation, right? I'll just make use of this, right? We are getting the correct result. 60, right? 50 plus 10, that is nothing but 60. Let me run this again. Just give me a second. Enter the first number. I'll just give 20. Second number, I'll just give 10. I'll just choose minus. This is giving 10. This is fine as well. Let's check for multiplication as well as the division as well, right? I'll just give 10. Enter the second number, I'll just give 10. Let me give this one. We are getting 10 into 10, 100. This is also correct. Next, finally, let's check for the division. So let me give 20 first number. If I give 0 for the second number, so I'll just choose this one. See, we are getting cannot divide by 0. This one here. We have given else in this one. We have given in the else we have given cannot divide by 0, right? This one. And let me run this one again. Run the code again. Let's wait for some time. I'll just give 20. The second number I'll just give 10. Choose the symbol. We are getting result 2, right? 20 divided by 10. Everything is working correctly. Yeah, this is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello, everyone. Previously, we built a simple calculator. We saw how we can build a simple calculator, right? Today, we'll be building to-do list manager, right? So let's start and just come here. Just give me a second. I just come here. Let me right click, hover on new, click on Java class. I'll just give the name to-do list manager. Let me hit enter, right? So after this, what I'll do, let's create the array list to store the tasks. So I'll just give private static array list string, right? So here, let me hover over here. Let me click on import class. So what we have done here, we have imported the array list from the Java util package, right? I'll just name this one tasks and give new array list. What we have done here, we have created an array list to store the tasks, right? Next, let's create the scanner object for the user input. I'll just give the same private static. Instead of array list, let me give the scanner. So we have imported the scanner as well from the Java util package. Scanner, let me give scanner, new scanner of, I'll just give system.n. So we have created the scanner object as well for the user input. Next, as usual, let's create the main method, right? So let me give public static void main of string and args. So we have defined the main method. Inside, let's continue coding. So what we'll do, let's create the flag to control the loop execution first. For that one, I'll just make use of the boolean. Let me give the name exit variable name, and I'll set this one to set the exit to false. Basically, initially I'll set this one to false. For the reference, I'll just comment and write this is the flag to control loop execution. So this is one thing. Next, let's make use of the while loop. That is nothing but the main menu loop. I'll just make use of while. So when not of exit, let's print by making use of sout. I'll just give sout. Let me give /n, or not this one basically. Yeah. To list manager. This is one thing. Next, I'll just copy this one entirely. Let me paste this one 5 more times, right? Sorry. So I'll just change this one. Let me come here. Let me delete this one. The first task, I'll just give this one add task. The second one, I'll just come here. Let me delete this one. Second one, I'll just give view tasks. Third one, I'll just come here. Let me delete this one. Third one, I'll just give remove task. Fourth one, I'll just come here. Let me delete this one. Fourth one, let me give exit. Fifth one, I'll just come here. Choose an option. So this is it. Next, what I'll do, I'll just come here. Let's read the user choice. How we can do that? I'll just make use of end. Let me give the variable name choice. And let's make use of the scanner for them, right? For reading the user choice. How we can do that? I'll just give scanner dot next end. I'll just make use of the next end. Next, let's consume the new line after the next end, right? For that one also, I'll just make use of the scanner dot next line. So I'll just come here. It has to be next line, right? So next, let's make use of the switch case, right? So let me come here. Let me give switch. Let's call choice. So case 1, let's call the add task method. So we have not written add task method yet. We'll be writing that one in the future. For now, let's make use of that one in the switch case, right? I'll just give add task. So I'll just give call this one. This is nothing but, just follow along with me. Task method. After that, I'll just give break, right? I'll just copy the same thing. Let me copy this one 4 more times. I'll just make this one to 2, this one to 3, this one to 4. Finally, this one will be, I'll just set this one to default, right? So this one, instead of add task, this one will be, I'll just give the name view tasks, right? So the third one, it will be remove task. Instead of add, I'll just change this one to remove task. And the fourth one will be, I'll just set the exit flag to true. So here, instead of add task, let me change this one. So I'll just let me come here. Let me copy this one. So what happened here? Wait, just give me a second. Branch and switch is a duplicate of the default. For now, this will be view tasks. I'll just change this one to remove task. And the final one, I'll just remove this one, this line. Just come here. Well, it's true. What I have done here, we have set the exit flag to true. Basically, exiting the loop, right? I'll just comment this one and write the same thing. Set the exit flag to true. Exit loop. This is break. After this one, default. And let me remove this one. Instead of break, let's print invalid choice. Please try again. If we choose anything other than these 4 things, right? 2, 3, 4. By default, we'll get this one. Invalid choice. Please try again. So next, what I'll do, let's close the scanner object, right? For that one, I'll just give scanner dot close. Nothing but we are closing the scanner object. So wait, this is showing exit raise hand local by this is fine. So yeah, now let's call the add task, this one method. I'll just give it static void add task. Within this one, let's print enter task. So I'll just give this one. Next, let's read the task input from the user. Let's make use of scanner for that one, right? I'll just give string, just name the variable name task, and I'll give scanner next line. So what we have done here, we are reading the task input from the user by making use of the scanner, right? Next, let's add the task to the array list. For that one, I'll just give tasks dot add of individual task, right? So let me choose task. Nothing but this one. Above, we have assigned the variable task to the scanner dot next time, right? So task, what we are doing here, we have added the task to the array. We are adding the task to the array list. Next, let's print. After adds, let's print task added, right? So yeah, this is it for the add task method. Next, let's call the view tasks method. I'll just give same thing, private static void view tasks. So here, initially, let's print your tasks, right? So let me make use of the for loop for this one. And I'll just initialize this one to 0 less than tasks, size of the tasks basically. Let's increment the height. So after this one, let's display each task with its index. For that one, how we can do that? I'll just make use of sout. Let me give I plus 1. Let's concatenate this one. Tasks get of I. So this is one thing. What we have done here, we are displaying the each task with its particular index, right? Or with its index basically. So next, this is it for the view tasks method. Next, what we'll do, let's call the remove task method. For that, I'll just come here. Let me give private static void remove task. Inside this one, what I'll do, initially, let's print enter task number to remove. So what I'll do, just come here. Let me make use of the sout. I'll just give the task number to remove. Right. So after this, let's read the task number input by making use of the scanner. I'll just give the variable name task number. Let me make use of the scanner. Next int, right? So the first one itself. We are reading the task number input. Next, let's consume the new line after the next step. For that one also, we'll be making use of scanner basically. I'll just give next line. So until here, this is good. Next, let me make use of the if condition. If the task number is greater than 0 and task number less than or equal to size of the tasks, then only we can remove the task. Remove the a task at the specified index, right? The task number has to be greater than 0 and the task number has to be lesser than the task size. So then only we can remove the task at the specified index. For that one, what I'll do, let me make use of the variable name removed task and give tasks dot remove of task number minus 1, right? What we have done in the previous line, we are removing the task at the specified index if we want to remove a particular task, right? Next, after removing, let's print task let's concatenate the removed task as well, right? This one also. Let me give here removed. So this is fine, I think. So what I have done here, why this is showing like this? Illegal line end of string literal. Just give me a second. Here I have forgotten the double inverted comma, right? So let me give this one. This is fine. Then let me make use of else. What will print? I'll just give invalid task number. If the task number doesn't exist, right? So then we'll give invalid task number. This is it. So this looks good basically. Let's run the code. Let's wait for some time. You can see here to-do list manager, add task, view task, remove task, as well as the exit, right? Initially, let me choose 1. So 1, it is asking us to enter the task. I'll just give learn guitar at 8 p.m. I'll just, you can see here, it is giving us task added, right? After this one, let me choose the option 2. So here, if we press 2, it is giving your tasks, and it is giving us learn guitar at 8 p.m. 1 and 2 are working properly. And now if I choose 3, so enter task number 2, remove. Task number is nothing but this one. At the left side, you can see 1, right? This one, let's give 1. So you can see here, task learn guitar at 8 p.m. removed. Next, if I give 2, right, then say your tasks, nothing is getting displayed because we removed the learn guitar at 8 p.m. right? It is showing here task learn guitar at 8 p.m. removed. So these 3 things are working fine. Finally, I'll just exit. For that one, I'll just give 4. So process finished with exit code 0. So everything is working correctly. This is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone. Previously we saw how to build a to-do list manager, right? Today we'll continue with building the temperature converter. So let me come here, right click, hover on new, and click on Java class, right? I'll just give the name. Temperature converter. We'll just hit enter. So here what we have done, we have defined a public class named temperature converter, right? So next, as usual, what we'll do, we'll define the main method. I'll just give on the public static I'll just give string args. So next, what I'll do, let's create a scanner object for the user input. So I'll just give scanner. So we can see here, we have imported the scanner class for the user input from the Java util package, right? I'll just give scanner here, new scanner system dot in. So here, what we have done here, we have created a scanner object for the user input, right? Next, what we'll do, let's prompt the user to choose the conversion type. For that, I'll be making use of sout, right? So I'll just comment this one and write this one for the reference so that it will be easy to understand, right? Prompt user to choose conversion type. So here I'll just give sout. First one, let me give choose conversion type. So just give me a second here. Yeah, let me copy this one entirely, this line. Let me paste it 3 more times just below it, right? So here, let me delete these things. I give 1, and here I'll make this one to Celsius to Fahrenheit. One thing. Next one, I'll just come here. Let me do the same thing. Let me delete this one. Let me give, let me copy this one. Here, I'll just make this one to Fahrenheit to Celsius, right? So I'll just copy this one. The final one, I'll just delete this one. Let me give enter choice, and the braces I'll just give 1 or 2. Yeah, let me give this one, right? So this is it. Next, what I'll do, let's read the user choice. I'll just make use of the choice, the variable name choice, and I'll just give canon dot next int. What we are doing here, we're reading the user choice, right? By writing this line. Next, let me give temperature, converted temperature, right? So these two variable names I have called. So yeah, here I have misspelled this one. Yeah. Next, let's perform the conversion based on the user choice. Let's make use of the switch case here. I'll just give switch of, I call choice. So let me give case 1 here. Here, initially, let's print enter temperature and Celsius. So if we have chosen Celsius, this has to get displayed, right? Enter temperature and Celsius. So I'll just make this one capital E so that this looks good. Next, let's read the temperature in Celsius. How can we do that? I'll just give temperature. We have already called the variable temperature here, right? Double temperature as well as the converted temperature. I'll just give here temperature. Let me make use of the scanner to read the temperature in Celsius. I'll just give next double this time, this one. So we have read the, what we are doing, we are reading the temperature in Celsius. Next, let's convert this one from Celsius to Fahrenheit, right? How can we do that? By making use of formula. I'll just give converted temperature equals, let me make use of the braces, temperature into 9/5 I'll give, and plus 32. This is nothing but the formula to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit. After converting, so we'll print temperature and Fahrenheit, right? I'll just copy the same thing here, Fahrenheit. Let me copy this one and paste it over here. Let's concatenate the converted temperature. So this one itself. So this is it. After this, let me give break. Next, what I'll do, let me copy the same thing and make the necessary changes for the case 2, right? Just copy this one and here let me give. Instead of case 1, I'll just make this one to case 2. Here, instead, we are converting from Fahrenheit to Celsius, right? This one has to be enter temperature and Fahrenheit, right? Oh, sorry. This one. Let me come here. Let me copy this one. And Fahrenheit. So this is one thing. Next, we are reading the temperature in Fahrenheit. Same thing. Temperature equals scanner. This will be same. Converted temperature, this formula will be different. Just give me a second. Let me delete this entirely. This will be temperature minus 32 into 5/9. So what we are doing with the help of formula, we are converting the Fahrenheit to Celsius. So this is one thing. This is fine. Finally, this has to be temperature in Celsius, right? This is one thing. Finally, yeah, we have concatenated the converted temperature as well. So This is fine. Next, what I'll do, let me give default here. Let's print invalid choice. So I have misspelled here, right? So yeah. So initially we will be having two choices, right? One is Celsius to Fahrenheit and Fahrenheit to Celsius. If we press any other key like 4 or 5, anything other than 1 or 2, it will give invalid choice by default. That's what we are doing here. Next, let's close the scanner as well. I'll just give scanner dot close finally. So this is it. Let me check once. So this looks good, right? Yeah, this looks good. Let's run the code. Let's wait for some time. So yeah, initially this is saying choose conversion type Celsius to Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit to Celsius. Enter choice 1 or 2. Let me give 1 and hit enter. Enter temperature and Celsius. Let me give 22. Temperature in Fahrenheit is we are getting 71.6. This is working properly, right? So after this, let me run the code again. Let's wait for some time. Let's check for this one as well, right? Fahrenheit to Celsius. Enter choice 1 or 2 we are getting. I'll just give 2 and hit enter. Enter temperature in Fahrenheit. Let me give 76. What did I give? 60. Let me give 76. So it is around temperature in Celsius. It is around 25, right? 24.44 something. So this is working properly. So this is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone. Previously we saw how to build a simple interest calculator. So today we'll be building simple currency converter, right? Let's start. I'll just come here. Let me right click and hover on new and click on Java class. I'll just give currency converter and I'll just hit the enter. So next what I'll do, I'll just define the main method as usual. Just give public static void main. Sorry, this will be string and args, right? Next, let's create a scanner object for the user input. How we'll do that? Let me give scanner. You can see automatically scanner got imported from the Java util package, right? What we are doing? Nothing but we are importing the scanner class for the user input from the Java util package. I'll just give here scanner new scanner. So this has to be capital S, sorry. Okay. I'll just use system.in. So this is one thing. Next, let's prompt the user to choose currency conversion type. I'll just comment this one and write for the just for the reference. Prompt user to choose currency conversion type. So this is one thing. What we'll do here, I'll just give and just make use of is out. Let me give choose currency conversion type, right? So here, yeah, let me copy same thing, entire line, and let me paste this one just below 3 times, right? So just remove this here. First one, I'll give USD to euros, or I'll just give EUR. And the second one, I'll just change this one to euros to USD. So next, here, let me give enter choice 1 or let me close this one as well. So yeah, this is it. Next, let's read the user's choice. So I'll just take the variable name choice and I'll give scanner dot next int. So I just want to make use of next int, right? So what we have done in the last line, we are just reading the user's choice. Next, let's call the variable amount as well as, sorry, this has to be double. Amount as well as converted amount. Right? Next, let's define the conversion rate from USD to euros. How can we do that? I'll just make use of final keyword. Let me give double USD to euros. Just give rate. Just give 0.85. So what we are doing here, we have we have defined the conversion rate from USD to euros. Next, let's define the conversion rate from euros to USD as well. I'll just copy the same thing, entire line. Let me paste it over here. Final double, this one I'll just make this one to here. Euros to USD rate, right? So this one has to be 1.18. Yeah. Next, this looks good. Next, let's perform the conversion based on the user choice. For this, let's make use of the switch. I'll just give switch of choice case 1. I'll just give s out. Initially, let's print enter amount in USD. If someone had chose 1, right, then initially we'll choose this one. So what is wrong here? Enter amount in USD. Just give me a second. What is wrong here? Statement must be the standard output string. The output string is already open and ready to accept the output data. What did I do wrong here? This one, right? Here I didn't leave the space, I think. Yeah. This is fine. Next, let's read the amount in USD. So I'll just give amount. Let's make use of the scanner. Okay. Next, double. As we are considered this one in double, right? So next double. What we are doing here, we are reading the amount in USD. Next, let's convert from USD to euros by making use of the formula, right? So I'll just give converted amount equals amount into USD to euros rate, this one. And after that, let's print amount in euros. The result, right? We are printing like this. Let's concatenate converted amount along with the string. Finally, let's give take. This is it. I'll just copy the same thing for case 2. I'll just come here. Let me copy this one. Let me paste it over here. Instead of case 1, I'll just make this one 2. Instead of USD, let me give euros. This will be same. Converted amount, this one amount into this one we have to change, right? I'll just give euros to USD rate instead of USD to euro, right? Next, what we'll do, so here what we have done in this line is we are reading the amount in euros, right? That's what we are doing. Next here, we are converting the euros from euros to USD, the currency. Finally, let me give amount in this one. We are converting to USD, right? Amount in USD plus, and we are concatenating the converted amount. So this is fine. This looks good. Finally, if we chose the wrong this thing, right? Then let's print invalid choice. If we had chosen, the wrong this one choice, then we'll be printing invalid choice by default. So that's what we are doing. In simple words, we are handling this one, invalid choice, basically. Finally, let's close the scanner object as well. For that one, I'll just make use of scanner dot close, this one. So I'll just check once. This looks good. Let's run the code, right? Let's wait for some time. So here we are getting choose currency conversion type, USD to euros and euros to USD. let me choose 1. Enter amount in USD. Let me give 70 and hit enter. So amount in euros we are getting 59.5. This is working correctly, right? Let's run the code again. Let's check with the second option, right? So by default, if we give the this one wrong choice, then we'll get this one, right? Invalid choice. Let's check that one as well. Let me give 3 and hit enter. It is giving us invalid choice. Also, let me run the code again. This time, let me choose 2, right? Let's check. We give 2. Enter amount in euros. I'll just give 59.6. So, it is giving me amount in USD 70, right? 70.328. So, this is working absolutely fine. So, this is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello, everyone. Previously, we saw how to build a simple interest calculator. So, today, we'll continue with building the expense tracker, right? So, I'll just come here. Let me right click, hover on new and click on Java class. I'll just give the name. Just give me a second. Just give the name expense tracker. So, what we have done here, we have added the main class to interact with the expense manager, right? Basically, this one. So, let me start from beginning. So, initially what I'll do, just give me a second. So, initially what I'll do, I'll just come here and import the necessary classes for file input and output operation. I'll just give import java.io. Done. Also, let's import the necessary classes for date and collection operations as well. Here, in my case, I'll just give import java.util.star. Basically, we have imported the necessary class for file input and output operations as well. And we have imported the necessary classes for the date and collection operations that we'll be using in the code. For now, just follow along with me, right? Let's write a class representing an expense. For that one, I'll just give class expense implements serializable, right? So what we have done here, we are implementing the serializable to allow the object serialization initially. So I'll just make use of private static final long. I'll just give serial version UID. I'm just setting this one to 1 null. So this is nothing but the unique identifier for the serialization. Just follow along with me. You'll get to know what we have done here, right? So I'll just give private string description. Let's make use of description, amount, category as well as date. So just give private. Let me make use of double amount private. This one for the category, I'll just make use of the string. I'll give category. Finally, just for the date, I'll just make use of the date. Here, let me give date. So next, let's create the constructor to initialize an expense. How to do that? Let me comment this one and write constructor to initialize. Initialize an expense. How will we do that? Let me make use of public expense. Here, let me copy the same thing here from this one, right? So just give me a second. Let me copy this one. String description. This one basically double amount string category. So just give comma here. The final one will be date, right? Let me copy this one as well. Let me paste it over here. So within this one, let me give this dot description equals, we are setting this one to description. Next, let's do the same thing for the amount category as well as date. I'll just copy the same thing here. Let me paste, sorry, what happened here? Let me close this one. So yeah, let me paste this one 3 more times. Instead of the description here, let me give amount. Here also, let's make this one amount. Same thing here. Let me give category here. Also, let me give category. The last one will be date. Let me change this one to date as well. So this is it. After this one, let's create the getter methods for expense attribute. So how will do that one? Let's write this one completely public. So let me comment this one just for the reference. It will be easy to understand, right? Getter methods for expense attributes. So I'll just come here. Let me give public string to get description. So I should have chosen that one itself, right? So within this one, let's return the description. Here, return description. Just give me a second. So let it be here. So after this one, I'll just give public double. So this time get amount, right? So let's do this fast. Let me give. Let's return the amount. I'll just give amount. Next, let me give public. We have made use of string category. Get category. So here, let's return the category. Finally, let me give date. Sorry, here this has to be get date. Let's return the date. So yeah, this is easy. Next, what shall we do? Let's override the toString method to print the expense details. We have to print the expense details, right? For that one, let's make use of the annotation override toString, right? I'll just make use of annotation override. Let me give public string toString. So yeah, this is right. Then here, let me give a return within the string. I'll just give expense. Let me open this thing. Braces, rectangular braces. I'll just give description here. Let's concatenate the description. Here, let me give amount. Let's concatenate the amount. Okay, there. We come here. Let me give category. So did I do anything wrong here? Category. Let's concatenate the category as well, right? So yeah. After this one, let me give date. Let me make this one capital D. Let's concatenate date as well. This is it. This looks good, right? So after this, let's write a class to manage expenses. Let me comment this one and write class to manage expenses, right? So let me make use of class. Let me give the name expense manager. So inside this one, let's create a list to store the expenses. For that one, I'll just make use of private list. Within the list, let me give expenses. This is nothing but we have created a list to store the expenses. Next, let's create the constructor to initialize the expense manager. How can we do that? Let me give public expense manager expenses equals, let's initialize the expenses list. So for this one, I'll just give new array list. Next, let's load the expenses from the file. For that one, I'll just give load expenses. Just give me a second. So load expenses method, we have not written this one yet. We'll be writing this one in the future. Just follow along with me. You'll get to know what we have written here, basically. Load expenses, right? So next, let's write the method to add an expense. So for that one, let me comment this one and write method to add an expense. For that one, I'll just give public void add expense. Here, I'll just give expense right? So here, let's add the expenses to the list. I'll just give expenses. How can we add? I'll just give expense. So we have added the expenses to the list. Next, we have to save the expenses to the file as well, right? For that one, we'll be creating the save expenses in the future. But for now, I'll just give the name. Just follow along with me. I'll just give save expenses. This is the method. We have not written this method yet. We'll be writing that one in the future. So just follow along with me. Next here, let's write a method to view all the expenses. To view all expenses. And just come here. Let me give public list. I'll just give expense view expenses. So within the view expenses, what we are gonna do, we'll just return a copy of the expenses list. How can we do that? I'll just give return new array list of, here I'll just give expenses. So we are returning a copy of the expense list, right? This is fine. So next, let's write a method to get the expenses by category. I'll just comment this one and write method to get expenses by category. So let me come here. Let me give public list expense here, get expense by category, right? Here, let's give category. The data type will be string, right? Category. So here, next step, what we'll do? Let's create the list to store the expenses by category. For that one, I'll just give list. Let me give. So what happened here? Anything wrong? So this has to be capital E, right? Sorry. Expense. Let me give variable name result, new array list. So we have created the list to store the expenses by category. Next, let's iterate through the expenses. For that, I'll just make use of the for loop. For loop. This one will be expense and expense of expenses. We are iterating through the expenses. Next, let's make use of the if condition. If expense get category equals ignore case of category. So we are checking the category, right? Basically here in this line. So next, let's add the expense to the result list. How can we do that? Let me select not the return basically. Sorry, it will be the result dot add of expense. So this one we are again I'm telling in this line we are adding the expense to the result list. Finally, what we'll do, we'll return the result. Let me come here. Let me give return result. So this is fine. After this, let's write a method to get the total expenses, right? So I'll just come here. Let me comment this one and write. Sorry. Method to get total expenses. For this one, I'll just give public double. Sorry. That one use space. Get total expenses. We can here inside the get total expenses. Let's initialize a variable to store the total amount. How can we do that? Let me give double. Make use of the variable total name and initialize this one to 0. Next, let's iterate through the expenses. For that one, I'll be making use of for loop. I'll just give expense here of expenses, right? Next, let's add the amount to the total. How can we do that? Total, sorry, this one just total equals total plus expense dot get amount. What we have done here, we have already added the amount to the total. Next, let's finally return the total. How we can do that? I'll just come here. Let's give return total. This is it. Next, let's implement the method to save the expenses to a file. Let me comment this one and write for the reference. Method to save expenses to a file. So how can we do that? I'll just come here. Private void save expenses. What I'll do, I'll just give try object output stream. Just give me a second. I'll just make use of object output stream. So here are wrong braces, right? So I'll just give the braces correctly. I'll just make use of over equals new object output stream. Within this new file output stream, within the file output stream, let's add the file name. Let's give I'll just give expenses.da. So until here, this is fine. Let's give start a write object, right? We're making use of write object of expenses. This is fine. What we are doing here, basically, this line, we are just writing the expenses list to the file. This is easy, right? Next, let me make use of the catch block. I'll just give IO input output exception. Let me give E. Here, inside this one, let's print by making use of S out. In my case, I'll just give error saving expenses. So, sorry, this one. Let's concatenate the get message. So this is fine. We are just handling the exceptions here. So here, let me make this capital T so that this looks good. Did I do anything here? What is here? Private method number. So here, yeah, we have to make this capital E, right? Sorry. Now this looks fine. So what is this here? Let me check once. Do anything wrong? Anywhere? It's fine. So yeah, here caps, right? This is fine. Yeah, this is fine. Save the expenses of the file, right? Next, let's implement a method to load the expenses from a file. I'll just comment here and write method to load the expenses from a file. Let me give private void load expenses. So this time, the same thing, I'll just copy this line. Let me copy this line until here. Let me paste the same thing over here. So here I'll give expenses equals list of expense, right? Yep, expense. So I'll just give OIS. We are reading the object, right? So I'll just give read object. So here what it is showing, cannot resolve symbol. Yes. For now, let it be. So what we are doing here is, we are reading the expenses list from the file, basically. So expense OS dot read offset. This is fine. Next, let's make use of the catch block. Here, let's give file not found exception. This one is file once. Then let's print a message saying no existing expense data found. This is one thing. Let me give starting new. You can give anything. I just give the relevant thing to the project, right? So we are just handling the file not found here. This is fine. Let me make use of the catch block again. In this case, let's give input output exception or class not found exception. This one, E. In my case, let me give S out and print error Let me make this one capital E. Error loading expenses, concatenate the get message. So here what we are doing here, we are handling the other exceptions as well. So this is it. Next, let's come to the main class. Nothing but the expense tracker. This one, right? So here, next step, let's create the instance of the expense manager. For that one, I'll just give private that expense manager. And let me give a manager. New expense manager. This is fine. What we have done here, we have created an instance of the expense manager. Next, what we are gonna do, let's create the method to display the menu options. We have to have some menu options, right? In this case, we are having add expense, view expenses by the category, view total expenses. These 4 things along with the heading expense tracker, and finally along with the exit and enter your choice, right? These things. So here I'll just comment this one and write method to display menu options. So how we can do this? Let me give private static void. In my case, I'll just give display name. Let me make use of sout. Let me give expense tracker. So we are printing the menu header, right? Initially, I'll just copy the entire line. Let me paste 6 more times just below this one. This is fine. Instead of the expense tracker, I'll just give add expense. This looks fine, right? Here, in my case, I'll just delete this one as well. Here, let me give view expenses. We are printing the menu options 1 to 5 basically. So in this case, let me delete this one. Let me give the view expenses by category. This is third one. For the fourth one, I'll just come here. Let me delete this one. Fourth one will be view total expenses. This has to be expenses, right? The fifth one will be, let me delete this one first. Sorry. Let me delete this one first. Fifth one will be exit. Finally, here for this one, let's give enter your choice. This is fine. After this, let's define the main method to run the program. In this case, public static void main string parks. This is fine, right? So let's create the scanner object for the user input. This is easy. Let's give scanner new scanner of, I'll just make use of system dot. So what we have done here, we have created a scanner object for the user in. Next, let's create an infinite loop to create the, to keep the program running. So in my case, I'll just make use of while loop. Let me give while. If it is true, then let me give display menu. So we have displayed the menu here. Next, let's read the user choice. I'll just give the variable name choice here. Scanner. Next. After this, let's consume the new line character. Let me give scanner next line. This is fine. So until here, everything looks fine. What happened to this one? Cannot resolve the method display menu in the expected date method. So we already have the method, this one, right? So basically display menu. This has to be, so yeah, here instead of display menu, I have done display name. Sorry, yeah. Now this looks good. Yeah, this is correct, right? Next, let's make use of the switch case to handle the user choices finally. So I'll just come here. Let me give switch choice. Let me give case 1. This one, let's add the new expense in this case, right? Enter a new expense. If the user has selected this one, the first one, add expense. So let's add the new expense, right? In my case, I'll just give yes out. What shall we print? Initially, I'll just give enter description. This is one thing, and I'll just make use of the variable name description scanner next line. We are reading the expense description. Next, let's read the expense amount as well, right? Or let's, before that, let me make use of s out, enter amount in this case. So next, let's read the expense amount as well. In my case, I'll just make use of double. Let me give the variable name amount. Scanner. We have made use of the double, right? So I'll just give next double. Nothing but we are reading the expense amount. Next, let's consume the new line character. For that one, I'll just make use of scanner next line. After consuming the new line character, let's print the enter category, right? In this case. So after this, let's read the expense category. In my case, I'll just give string category. This one I have to type entirely. This is not showing the suggestions, right? Category scanner. Let me give scanner dot next line. So this is one thing, nothing but in this line we are reading the expense category. Next, let's get the current date. For getting the current date, I'll just give date equals new date. So this has to be function, right? Sorry. New date, this has to be capital D. Now this is fine. Next, what shall we do? Let's create the expense object. How can we create the expense object? Let me give expense simple. Give new expense of let's give description, amount, category, and this one date. Description, amount, category. Finally, this is completely fine. What we have done here, we have created the expense object. After this one, let's add the expense to manager. I'll just come here. Let me give manager dot add expense of expense. We are adding the we have added the expense to the manager. Finally, let's print the confirmation message. In my case, I'll just give expense added successfully. Let's make use of the S out, right? And let's print the message. Let me give this capital E, expense added successfully. So this is completely fine. Until here, fine. Let's break. Let's give break, right? So this looks good. Next, let's come to case 2, right? So what happened here? Let me give case 2. So case 2, let's view all the expenses. If the user selects this one, right? View expenses. So for that one, let's write the case. In my case, I'll just give viewing all expenses. This is just for the reference. So initially what I'll do, print the message saying listing all expenses. So we have to list all the expenses, right? So for that one, I'll just make use of list here. Within this, let me, this has to be capital expense. Yes, let me make use of the expenses. Manager view expenses. So what we are doing here in this line, we are getting all the expenses. That's what we have to get a list of all the expenses, and we have to, basically we are viewing all the expenses, right? When we choose the second option. That's what we are doing here. Next, let's make use of the if condition. If expenses dot is empty, if it is empty, then what do? Let's print by making use of S out. In my case, I'll just print no expenses recorded or found. You can give anything. In my case, I'll just give no expenses recorded. So if the expenses, if you don't have any expenses in the record, so then I'm just printing the message saying no expenses recorded. Else, what we'll do, I'll just make use of for loop. Let me give expense exp of expenses. We are just iterate expenses, right? Let's make use of S out. In my case, I'll just give ex. So this is fine. Finally, let me give break. So after this one, what shall I do? Just give me a second. Let's continue with case 3. So this is it. So case 3, what we are doing? Let me see once. Just give me a second. View expenses by the category. Based on the category, we'll be using the, we'll be viewing the expenses, right? So just give me a second. And just keep here viewing the expenses by category. So in my case, initially what I'll do, I'll just, by making use of S out, I'll just give enter category. This is fine. Next, let's read the category. How can we do that? I'll just give category scanner. Next line. This is it. We are what we are doing here, we are reading the category. Next, let me make use of S out. After this one, let's print listing expenses for category. So this is fine. Let's concatenate the category as well, right? Let me give expenses manager get expense by category. This one, get expense by category of category. This is simple. So what we have done here is we have got the expenses by category. So next, let me make use of the if condition. If expenses, this one is empty. Basically, if expenses is empty, then let's print a message and just make use of S out. What shall we print? In my case, I'll just give no expenses found for this category. This looks fine. What happened here? I misprint this. Fine. This is fine. If the expenses is not found, basically we are printing a message, no expenses found for this category. This is fine, right? So no need of space over here. Else, let's make use of the for list to display the expenses based on the category, right? In my case, I'll just give for expense expenses. So we are iterating through the expenses here. Let me make use of S out and give EX. This is completely fine. What we have done here, basically this line, we have iterated through the expenses, and finally in this line we are printing the expense details. Basically we have made use of the for loop, right? This is it. Next, let me give break here. Next, let's make use of the case 4. This is fine. Case, right? This is good. Looks good. Case 4, what we are doing? Let me come here. Case 4, view the total expenses. So we have to view the total expenses, right? I'll just comment this one. View total expenses in my case. So here, let's give S out. Initially, let's print total expenses. Let me concatenate manager get total expenses. This is fine. So this is it. What we are doing here, we are printing the total expenses, right? This is fine basically. Let's give break. Next. So sorry, I'll just continue here itself. Sorry. Case 5. Case 5, what we are doing here, the 5th option, exit, right? Just give me a second. Why this is lagging? Here in my case, I'll just give exiting the program. So here, this is simple. I'll just give, sorry. Let me make use of S out. Let me give exiting. This looks good, right? So this is enough. Then let's close the scanner as well, right? After this one, I'll just give scanner.close in my case. So finally, let's exit the program. So I'll just call the return. Finally, we have to mention the default, right? So default case, what we are doing here. So if we choose the wrong option, right, there are only 5 options. If we give any other options, suppose if we have press 7, 8, 89, anything, any random number or anything other than the options, if we press, then we are displaying the this one, default message. What default message will print? Let me give S out of invalid choice, please try again. So what we are doing here, we have printed a message saying invalid choice, please try again, right? I'll just make this one I, capital I, so that this looks good. Nothing else. So yeah, this is it. So basically, let me check once. So did I miss anything? Let me press Control Alt and I. So let me select this one. Let me press Control Alt and L, right? So that this formats the code correctly. Yeah, this looks fine. Did I do anything wrong? Let's check once. If I have done anything wrong, let's correct this one. Yeah, reassign local variable. This is fine. Reassigning a local variable is fine. This looks good, right? Let's run the code now. So one error this is showing. Cannot resolve symbol iOS. This is fine for now. Let's run the code. Let's wait for some time. So here what we are getting, symbol, variable, location, expense manager, variable, yes. This one, right? Let's check. So here I'll come, if I click here, so this has to be object input stream as well, right? So this has to be OIS. So here also I have copied from the basically here save expenses. I think this one first line. I forgot to change this one. So this has to be object input stream. Here also this has to be object input stream. Here also let's change this one to, instead of output, let me change this one to input stream, right? So read object, what this is saying, cannot resolve method, object output stream. So yeah, this has to be capital O, right? So yeah, this looks good. This is the only wrong thing. Let's run the code. Let's check. So yeah, now we can see expense tracker 1, add expense. We are getting the options, add expense, view expense by category, view total expenses, and exit, right? Let me choose the option 1. So it is asking me to enter the description. I'll just give trip. Yeah, trip to XYZ place. I'll just give, enter the amount. I'll just give, in my case, let me give 10,000. So enter category. I'll just give trip. So yeah, now we have added the expense, right? So next, let me select the view expenses. Let me add one more thing. Let me add one more expense. I'll just give 1. Let me give the description, birthday party. So enter amount, I'll just give 5,000. Enter category, I'll just give birthday. Yeah, this is fine. Next, let's view the expenses, right? I'll just give 2. Here, let me enlarge this one. Just give me a second. Yeah, you can see expenses description. This basically these 2 things I had already added. This one you can see here, trip to XYZ place, amount 10,000, category trip, and this one, right? So you're getting the date along with the time. So the same thing for the next one, birthday party, we are getting the amount, category as well, along with the date and time. So here we are this one 1 and 2 are working properly. let me select 3 now. And so enter your choice. This has to be, why this is asking for the category? Oh, based on the category, we'll view the expenses, right? Here the category is for trip and the birthday. I'll just give birthday in this case, just to check. So yeah, you can see here, expense, description, birthday party, amount, 5,000. Category, birthday, date, and time we are getting here. This is working completely correct. 1, 2, 3. Finally, view total expenses. So I'll just give 4 now. So we are getting expense of 65,004 rupees. So this is correct, right? This one we have added 10,000 and 5,000. So basically this is correct. And 50,000 for previously I had already added this one. So this is giving us 65,004 rupees. This is working fine. Finally, let's give 5 to exit. Showing exiting, and the process finished with exit code 0. This is it. Yeah, everything is working correctly. So this is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone. Previously, we saw how to build a expense tracker, right? Today, we'll continue with the student management system. So just give me a second. So what I'll do, I'll just come here, right click, hover on new and click on Java class, right? I'll just give the name student management system. So I'll just hit enter. So this is the main class, right? Next, I'll just come here. Let's start from the beginning. So I'll just come here. Let's import the necessary classes for the file input and output operations. I'll just give import java.io start. Basically, we are importing the necessary classes for the file input output operations. Also, let's import the necessary class for correction operations. So I'll just come here. Let me give import java.util start. So after this, let's create the student class to represent the student. So I'll just come here. Let me comment this one and write student class to represent a student, right? So I'll just give class student implements serialize sub. So what I've done here, so what we are doing here, we are implementing the serializable to allow object serialization. Basically, I'll just give private static final long. Let me give serial version UID. I'll just set this one to 1L, right? What we have done, this is just the unique identifier for the serialization. Next, let's name the student. Also, let's get the age of the student as well as the ID of the student. I'll just give private. Data type will be string. Let me give name. Private class int. Data type will be integer and a. Here again, private. Data type will be this time string I. Right? So this is it for this is it. Next, let's create the constructor to initialize the student object. Let me comment this out and write constructor to initialize student object. So let me give public student. I'll just come here. Let me copy this one. String name, also the int age, the final one string id. Let me copy this one and paste it over here, string id, right? So I'll just give this dot name equals name. This is nothing but setting the name. Next, this dot age equals age. Finally, let's set the id as well. I'll just give this dot id equals id. So we have set the name, age as well as the id. This is it for now. Next, let's get all the getters for the student attributes. I'll just comment this one and write getters for student attributes, right? So let me give public string get name. So this has to be capital N, sorry. So here, let's return name. So next, get age, right? Public integer data type, get age. So we'll just return the age in this case. Next, public string get id. Here we'll be returning the id, right? This is one thing. Finally, let's override toString method to print student details. Nothing but I'll just write this one for the reference. We are writing override toString method to print student details. Let me give override addition. Let me give public string toString. This is correct, right? Next, let's return student. I'll just open the brace. I'll just give name, concatenate name here. Let me give age. Let's concatenate age. Finally, let me give id. Let's concatenate id. So in this case, this is fine. Let's close the braces. So this is it, right? Next, let's create the class to manage the students. So I'll just come here for the reference. I'll just comment this one and write class to manage students. I'll just give class student manager. I'll just wait. So class student manager, this one, why am I taking private? Sorry, this has to be, yeah, private itself. Sorry. Let's create the list to store the students. In my case, I'll just give list to student, also students. So what we have done here, we have created a list to store the students. Next, let's create the constructor to initialize student manager. So I'll just come here I'll just write here constructor to initialize student manager, right? Let me give public student manager, this one. So first, let's initialize the students list. How to do that? Let me give students new array list. What we are doing here, we are initializing the students list. After initializing the students list, let's load the students from the file. Load students. So we have not implemented this method yet. We'll be implementing this method in the future. Just follow along with me, right? So this is it for the student manager. So next what we'll do, let's implement the method to add the student. Let me comment this one and write method to add a student. This one is just for the reference. Let me give public void add student. Student. After this, what I'll do, students dot add of, let me give student. So what this line does, basically we are adding student to the list, right? So next, after adding the student to the list, let's save the students to the file, right? For that one, let me give save students. We have not implemented the save students method yet. We'll be implementing the save students method in the future. So just follow along with me, right? So here, what happened? Query type student. So yeah, no, I think this is correct, right? Students dot add. Oh, this one has to be capital S. Yeah. Now this is, yeah. Next, let's implement a method to remove the student by particular ID. I'll just comment this one and write method to remove the student by ID. So here I'll just give public void remove student of ID of data type string. I'll just give ID. Let me give students dot remove if, right? Let's make use of remove if in this case. Student. Let's make use of this one, right? Lambda expressions. Just give me a second. Yeah. So student. Let me give student dot get ID equals of ID. This is fine. So what we are doing here, this line states that we are removing the student by particular ID. So I'll come here. Let's save the students to the file, right? After removing the student by particular ID, let's save the students to the file. I'll just give save students. So we have not implemented the save students in the yet. We'll be implementing that method in the future. So I'll just come here. Let's implement a method to view all the students. I'll just comment this one and give method to view all the students. For this one, I'll just give public list student. I'll just give view student. let's return a copy of the students list. I'll just make use of return here, new array list of students, right? So I'll just select this one, students. So what we have done here, we have just returned a copy of the students list. Next, let's create the method to save the students to a file. I'll just comment this one and write method to save students to a file. I'll just give private void save students. In my case, I'll just make use of the try and catch block. Let me give try. Inside the try, I'll just give object output stream. That is nothing but OOS. New object output stream. This is fine. Inside that, I'll just take new of file output stream. Finally, the name of the file, I'll just give students.dat. If you observe later, we'll be getting the student.dat text file here. Basically, I'm just creating the students.dat file. So after this, I'll just come here. OS is nothing but object output stream, right? I'll just give a write object of students. In this case, what we are doing here, we are writing the students list to the file, nothing but student.dat file, this one, right? Next, let me make use of the catch block. Catch here, I'll just give IO exception. Let me give E here. If we get some error, let's print the message saying error saving students. Also, along with this, let's concatenate get message. This, yes, we are just handling the exceptions here. So this is it. Next, what we'll do, let's write the method to load the students from the file. I'll just comment this one and write method to load students from the. So I'll just give private void load students. So in my case, this time let's make use of the object input stream, right? So let me give try. Sorry. Let me make use of the try block. Object input stream. This time I'll just make use of this one. OIS, nothing but object input stream. Let me give new object input stream of new file input stream. This is correct. And let's name the file. What we are doing here, this is the method we are implementing to load the students from a file. From what file? So I'll just give the name of the file. This one itself, right? Students.dat. I'll just give students.dat. This is correct. Yep. Next, let me give students equals list. This one, student. So after this one, I'll just give object input stream read object. So basically what we are doing here, this line states that we are reading the student list from the file, students.dat file, right? Next, if something goes wrong, we'll be making use of the catch block, right? For that one, I'll just give catch. In this case, I'll just give file not found exception. This one I'll be using. And E. So let's see the message. If something goes wrong, I'll just give, in my case, no existing student data found. So starting new. So this is what I am giving in my case. So you can give anything that is relevant here, right? So what we are doing here, we are just handling the file not found, basically, in simple terms. Let me make use of catch once again. So in this case, I'll just give input output exception or class not found exception. This one. Let me give E. Then in my case, I'll just make use of sout and print error loading students. So also let's, here, where did I come here? Also let's concatenate this one, get message, right? This is it. We are just handling the other exceptions as well, right? Through this line. This is it, basically. So next, let's come to the main class to interact with the student manager. This we have already created, right? This one. Next, inside this one, what shall we do? Next, let's create an instance of the student manager. How can we create the instance of the student manager? I'll just come here. Let me give it static student manager. Let me give manager new student manager itself, right? Just select this one. What we have done here, we have created an instance of student manager. Next, what shall we do? Let's implement the method to display the menu options. In this case, we have 4 options along with the menu header as well as prompting the user for choice. Let's see. I'll just comment this one and write method to display menu options. So here I'll just come, let me give private static void. In my case, I'll just name this one display menu. So initially I'll print student management system. So this is one thing. What I have done here, we have printed basically the menu header. This is nothing but the menu header. Next, let's print the menu option 1, 2, 3 and 4. That is nothing but add student, remove student, view student, right? View students as well as exit. So what I'll do, I'll just come here. Let me give sout. This case, I'll just give add student. So let me copy this one. After this line, I'll just come here. And just press enter. Let me paste this one 3 more times. I'll just paste this one 4 more times itself. Here, instead of 1, let me give 2, 3 and 4. This is fine. Instead of add student, let me give the second one, the remove student. This one, third one will be view students, right? I'll just give view students. In this case, the fourth one will be exit. Let me just give exit. I'll just copy the same thing. Here, instead of exit, let me give enter your choice. This is fine. This is it. Next, let's define the main method to run the program. For that one, I'll just give public static on main string. So here, let's check the scanner object for the user input. For that, I'll just give scanner this new scanner. Inside this one, I'll just make use of system.in, right? So this is it. What we have done here, so we have created a scanner object for the user input. This is fine. Next, what we'll do, we'll make use of the infinite loop to keep the program running. In my case, I'll just make use of while. If it's true, then I'll just give display menu. This one will display the menu. Next, let's read the user choice as well, right? For that one, I'll just make use of the variable name. Choice of integer type. Let me give scanner next int. Basically, we are reading the user choice, right? Next, let's consume the new line character. For that one, I'll just make use of scanner dot next line. This is simple, right? Next, let's make use of the switch case to handle the user choices. After selecting this one, we have to handle the user choice as well, right? If we give 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Here, I have done one mistake. I have given the add student twice, right? I'll just remove this one, this line. Yeah, this is fine. Now, if we give 1, 2, 3 or 4, after selecting an option, we have to handle the user choice, right? For that one, I'll be making use of switch. Let me give switch choice. Here, let me give case 1. The first one is adding a student, right? I'll just give add a new student. So, initially what I'll do, if we choose the first one, this one, add student, let's print sout enter name, this one, right? Initially. So, after this one, we have to read the student name, right? For that one, I'll just give the variable name of string data type. Let me give space here. Let's make use of scanner dot next line. This one, let me make use of. Yeah, this is fine. Let me give sout next. Let me give enter age. Here, next, let's read the student age as well, right? In this case, the variable name age I'll choose, and let's give the age of integer data type. Let me give scanner next int, this one. What we're doing, we are reading the student age. Next, let's consume the new line character. For that one, we'll just make use of the scanner and just give next line. Here I'll come next line. This is easy. Next, after that one, I'll just give sout and let's print the ID. I'll just give enter ID, right? This one. This is fine. Next, let's read the student ID as well. In my case, I'll just use the ID variable of string data type. Let me give scanner next line. This one. Let me choose this one. What we are doing here, we are reading the student ID, right? Next, let's create the student object. So how can we do that? Let me give student here, this one, and variable name student, new student of name, age and ID we have to create. Age and ID. So what we have done here, we have created the student object. Next, let's add the student to manager. How can we do? Here this has to be in the next line, right? Let me give manager, add student, student, right? What we have done here, we have added the student to manager. Finally, let's give the, if we have added the student, then we have to give some confirmation message, right? That will give by making use of, I'll just make use of s out. Now let me give student added successfully. This is fine. Yep. Yeah. After this, I'll just give break. This is one thing. Next, let's go to case. Here, what we are doing basically, second one, this one, we are removing the student, right? So I'll just comment this one and write removing a student. This is fine. Then what will we do? What we'll do here, first, let's print. We need ID, right? We need the ID to remove the particular student. So I'll just give, in this case, enter ID of student to remove. This is right. Next, let's read the student ID. For that one, I'll just make use of ID equals scanner, basically, right? Scanner dot next line, this one. Next, let's remove the student by ID. For that one, I'll just give manager remove student of ID. This is simple. Next, let's print the confirmation message saying something like a student removed successfully. So I'll just make use of SO and I'll give student removed successfully. So this is fine. Next, let me give, okay. After this, let's make use of case 3. So case 3, what we are doing, let's see here, we are viewing the students, right? I'll just make this one capital B, so this looks good. So I'll just come here, let me comment this one and give viewing all students. So initially, let's print listing all students. This is fine. Next, let's get all the students initially. For that one, I'll just make use of list student. Let me students manager view students, right? So what we are doing here, we are getting all the students, right? Let me make use of the if condition. If students are empty, how can we write that? Students dot, let's make use of is empty. Then let's print some message. I'll just make use of s out. Let me give no students recorded in this case. So what we are doing here, we are printing a message if there are no students. Else, what we'll do, let me make use of for loop. Iterate to, next, else if the students are not empty, right? Then let's iterate through the students and print the student details. That's what we are doing in this case, right? I'll just give student. Let me give std in this case of students. It is 1. We are iterating through the students. Next, we have to print the student details, right? For printing the student details, I'll just make use of s out and I'll just give std. This is fine. Let me give break. This works, right? Next, after the break, let's make use of the case 4. So for the case 4, what we are doing, I'll just come here, this one, exiting, right, basically. So I'll just come here, let me give exiting the program. So this is just for the reference. So I'll just make use of sout here and print exiting, so that this looks good. Next, let's close the scanner as well. For that one, I'll just choose the scanner dot make use of close function. Next, after closing the scanner, let's exit the program. For that one, I'll just give return. Finally, if we have chose the wrong option, if we chose wrong option, in this case, instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, if we give any other character or any number and press enter, will provide the default message saying this one invalid choice, something like that, right? I'll just come here. So let me give bold sout invalid choice. Please try again. So this looks good. We are just giving the message for the invalid choice, right? Here. This looks good. Yeah, this is it. What I'll do, let's format the code once. I'll just give Control A, Control Alt and L, right? So this looks good. Let's check once. This looks good for me. Let's run the code. Let's wait for some time. So you can see here student management system. The first one is add student, second one remove student, third one view student, as well as the fourth one exit. Let me come here. Let me give 1. So add student. So basically name, I'll just give Bharadwaj. So enter age, I'll just give 18. So enter ID, I'll just give 1, 2, 3, 4. This is it, right? Let's add one more student. I'll just select the student again. Here, 1. Let me give name Gauri. Enter age, I'll just give 18. So enter ID, I'll just give 9876. Yeah. So now let's give 3, right? Enter your choice, it is saying. Let me give 3. So when I give 3, that is nothing but we are viewing all the students, right? So it says list all students, student name Bharadwaj, age 18, ID 1, 2, 3, 4. Also the student name Gauri, age 28. So instead of 18, did I give 28? That's fine. 28, ID 9876. This is just for the reference, right? So after this one, it still says enter your choice. Let me give 2 in this case. So we are removing the student, right? Enter ID of the student to remove. Let me enlarge this one. Enter ID of the student to remove. I'll just come here. ID, let's remove Bharadwaj. I'll just copy this one, 1, 2, 3, 4. Let me paste it over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Based on the ID, we are removing the student, right? Let me give 1, 2, 3, 4. Student removed successfully. Next, let me give 3 again. So you can see here. Now, listing all the students, it says, then it is giving only the student name Gauri, age 28, ID 9876. This one we have removed, right? This one, Bharadwaj, basically age 18, ID 1, 2, 3, 4. Based on the ID, we removed that one. Next, let me give 4. This says only process finished with exit code 0. So everything is working perfectly all right. So this is it. Thanks for watching, guys. Hello everyone. Previously we saw how to build a student management system. So today we'll build the simple chat application, right? Let's start. I'll just come here. Let me right click, hover on new and click on Java class. I'll just name this one chat server, right? So let me come here. Just give me a second. Let me come here. So here, let's import some necessary packages, right? Initially, I'll just come here. Let me give import java.io star. We have imported the necessary input-output classes. Next, let's import the necessary networking classes as well. For that one, I'll just give import java.net star. Finally, let's import necessary utility classes, right? For that one, I'll just give java.util.tab. So this is fine. Next, let's make use of the set to store the client handlers. For that one, I'll just come here. Let me make use of private static set I'll just give here. I'll just make use of the client handler. What happened here? I think wrong. Let me give client handler. So here, client handlers, new hash set, right? This is fine. Now, let's create the main method to run the server, right? I'll just come here. Let me give public static void main string. So here also let me include throws IO exception. This is one thing. Let me give. So after this one, let's initialize the server socket on port 12345. For that one, what I'll do, I'll just come here. Let me make use of server socket new so this has to be server socket, right? Of let me give 12345. What we have done here, we have initialized server socket on the port 12345. Next, what I'll do, I'll just print. If everything goes right, let's print chat server started. This is the thing. Next, let's make use of the loop to accept the client connections as well, right? For that one, I'll just comment this one and write for the reference. So this will be easy to understand. I'll just give loop to accept client connections. So here, let me make use of the while loop. If it's true, then I'll give socket client socket. Here, let me make use of server socket dot accept. So what we are doing here, we are accepting the client connection, right? Next, let me make use of this out and print this one. New, let's give some message. New client connected. So here, what I'll do, I'll come here. I'll just make use of client socket dot get this INET address. This is fine. Next, let's create a new client handler. So I'll just give client handler. I'll just give client handler, new client handler, client socket. After creating a new client handler, let's add the client handler to the set. How can we do that? I'll just make use of client handlers. This one, add of individual client handler, right? This one. So we have added the client handler to the set, basically. Then let's start the new thread for each client. In this case, again I'm telling, we are starting a new thread for the each client. How can we do that? I'll just make use of client handler or start. So this is fine. Next, let's create the inner class to handle the each client. I'll just comment this one and write inner class to handle each client. So let me give static class client handler. Let me make use of extends thread, right? So yeah, we give private socket. Let me make use of print writer, buffer reader, as well as the string type for the out, in, and client name, right? I'll just give private. I'll just give, in my case, I'll just make use of print writer for out. Also variable name for the in, I'll just give private buffered reader in. Finally, private string client name. This is fine. Next, let's create the constructor to initialize the client handler with the client socket. This is easy, right? I'll just comment this one and write for the reference purpose. Just for the reference, sorry. Constructor to initialize the client handler with the client socket. So I'll just make use of public client handler. We give socket. I'll just set this one to this dot socket equals socket. This is fine. Next, let's implement the method to handle client communication. Let me comment this one and write for the reference. Method to handle client communication. Public void so here what I'll do, I'll just make use of try block and just set the into new buffered reader. New, let's make use of input stream reader, right? I'll just go with the input stream reader of, let's give socket get input stream. This is fine. What we are doing here, we are making use of the input stream for receiving the messages, basically, right? So for that purpose, I have missed a semicolon here, sorry. Again, I'm telling what we are doing here, we are making use of the input stream for receiving the messages. So this is fine. What happened here? unhanded exception, inspection, add catch clause. So for now, this is fine. Let's see this later. Make use of out. Let me set this one to new print writer socket. Let's make use of the output stream, right? Then let me set this one to what we have done here. We have made use of the output stream for sending messages. Basically, these two lines, I'll just tell this one. The second line, we are making use of output stream for sending messages. The first line, we are making use of input stream for receiving the messages. So after this, let's read the client's name as well, right? So whenever we connect to the server and when we start to chat, right, we should be able to read the client's name as well. That will do here. Here, let me give read client's name. I'll just give client name dot read line. This is fine. And after connecting, let me print the client name. Also, let's concatenate has, let me leave the space, has joined the. So this looks good, right? Yeah, this is fine. Also, let's notify all the clients about the new client. If someone is chatting, right? The first person is chatting. If the another client has joined the chat, then we should be able to notify all the clients about the new client who has joined the chat. For that purpose, what I'll do, I'll just give broadcast message client name, then concatenate has joined the. This is fine. This looks good till now. Next, I'll just make use of the variable name message of string data type. I will make this one capital, right? This is fine. What happened to this one? Broadcast message M has to be capital here. What's the error? Cannot resolve method broadcast method. This is fine for now. Let's see this later, right? Next, let's make use of the loop to read the messages from the client. How can we do that? I'll just make use of the while loop. Let me give message and dot read line. If this is not equal to null, then let's print the message to server console. I'll just make use of sout. Sorry, let me make use of sout. Let me give client name also. Let's concatenate the message as well. So this is fine. We are just printing the message to the server console, right? I'll just make use of not sout. Basically, let's make use of broadcast message, this one, client name. So I'll just copy this one till here. Well, let me paste it over here. Client name plus concatenate this one. Also, let's concatenate the message as well, right? This looks good. Next, let me make use of the catch block to catch the error, right? I'll just give IO input output exception. Let's handle the exception. I'll just give dot print stack trace. This one. This is fine. Let's make use of finally as well. Inside the finally, I'll just make use of try. Let's close the socket connection. How can we do that? I'll just make use of socket dot close. This one. After this, let me make use of catch block as well. Let me give input output exception. So here, this is one thing. Let's do the same thing. I'll just give print tag trace. This is fine. Next, after this, let's remove the client handler from the set. How can we do that? I'll just make use of client name basically. Why this is not showing? It has to be client handlers. Handlers. Remove of this. So what we are doing here, we are removing this client handler from the set. Then let me make use of sout and print the client name. So not inside the string. Client name along with has left the chat. So I'll just leave space here so it looks good. Right? This is fine. Then what I'll do, let's notify all clients that this client has left. For that one, I'll just give broadcast message client name as left the chat. What we have done here, we have notified all the clients that this client has left the chat, right? So this is fine until here. Next, let's implement the method to broadcast a message to all the clients. I'll just comment this one and write method to broadcast message to all clients. How can we do that? Let me give private void broadcast message string message of string data type, right? We just give message. Here, let's synchronize access to the client handlers set. So how can we do that? I'll just give synchronized client handler, this one. What we have done here, we are synchronizing access to the client handler set. Next, let's loop through the each client handler. I'll just make use of for loop for this. Let me give client handler. Why this is not showing client handler basically? Somewhere. Let's see. I'll just give client handler of client handlers. After looping through the each client handler, let's send the message to the client, right? For that one, I'll just make use of handler dot out println. I'll just give of message. So this is fine. This is fine, right? I'll just have done spelling mistake here. Just give me a second. Like this. Let me give Control A, Control Alt and L. Let's format the code, right? This is looking good. Now, and what I'll do, this looks good. There are some errors. Let's check. Let's run the code. So here we are getting cannot find the symbol class client handler. So I'll just click here. Let's check. So this is saying cannot find the symbol class client handler, right? So, oh yeah, this has to be capital C. So now you can see this looks good, right? So I think this looks good. Let's run the code again. Let's wait for some time. So yeah, this is working correctly. Chat server started, we are getting. So basically now the server side code is working correctly. Let's create the, let's start writing the client side code, right? So I'll just minimize this one. Let me come here. Let me hover on new and click on Java class. Let me name this one. Just give me a second. Let me name this one chat client, right? So here, let me come here. Let's import the necessary input output classes as well as necessary network classes. So I'll just give import Java IO. So this is for importing the necessary input output classes. Now let's import the necessary networking classes. I'll just give import dot here. Yeah, now this is fine, right? So I'll just come here. Let me give public. Let's create the public class chat client. We have already created, right? Why am I typing this one? This is fine. Inside this one, let me give private socket. So private, this is capital B, right? This has to show print writer for the out as well as private buffered reader and finally private. Again, I'll just make use of buffered reader for standard in. So this is fine. Next, let's create the constructor to initialize the client with server address as well as the port. For the reference purpose, I'll just comment this one and write constructor to initialize the client with the server address port. So I'll just come here. Let me give public chat client server address of string data type, also the port of integer type, right? This is fine. Let me make use of throws. Input output exception. So here, what is wrong here? Chat client invalid method declaration return type. This is fine for now. So I'll just make this one capital C. Yeah, this is fine now. Next, let's connect to the server. I'll just give socket new socket of, let's make use of server address as well as port. what we are doing here, we are connecting to the server. Next, after connecting to the server, let's make use of the output stream for sending messages. We had seen this one in the chat server file as well, right? So I'll just give out equals will. I'll just, hey, this is not, yeah, print writer socket get output string. Let's give true here. So we are making use of the output stream for sending messages, right? So I'll just give semicolon. Let me come here. Next, let's make use of the input stream for receiving the messages. Basically, we had made use of output stream in the previous line for sending the messages. Now we'll be making use of input stream for receiving the messages. So I'll just give in new buffered reader. I'll just go with input stream reader. Make it socket get input stream. So this is fine. Then finally, after making use of the input stream for receiving messages, let's make use of the input stream for the user input as well. So I'll just give this one right and an input here. I'll just copy this one itself. Let me paste it over here. New buffered reader. Sorry, capital I. Yeah, input stream reader. I'll just make use of system.in, right? This we in this line we are just making use of the input stream for the user input. Next, after if everything goes right, then we'll print connected to the chat server. For that one, I'll just make use of sout. Let me give within the strings. I'll give connected to chat server. This looks good till now. Next, what we'll do, let's start a thread to read the messages from the server. Basically, we have to read the messages from the server, right? From each client. For that one, let's start a thread to read the messages from the server. I'll just give new. Let's make use of thread new. So read, I'll just give m. What's wrong here? Read messages is fine. Start. This is fine. Next, I'll just make use of the variable name user input of string type. Let me give here capital I. This is fine. After that, let's print enter your name. Initially, we're displaying the client name, right? Whoever joins the chat, we have to give the name, right? For that one, let's give enter your name. Let me make this the E capital so that this looks good. Next, let's send the user, basically user's name to the server. For that one, I'll just make use of out println std in we have made use of, right? This is fine. Read line, this one. What we are doing here, we are sending the user's name to the server. Until here, everything looks good. Next, what shall we do? Let's loop to read the user input and send it to the server. Just for the reference, I'll just comment this one and try it. Loop to read user input and send it to the server. So basically, I'll just make use of while loop. Here, let me give user input. String, let's make use of read line. So this is fine until here. If it is not equal to null, so yeah, let's send the message to the server. So basically, if the user input and the line is, if it is not equal to the null, right? Now, if you have given some name, then we'll send the message to the server. So for that one, I'll just keep out println of whatever the input is given by the user, nothing but user input. So this is fine. Till now, everything looks good. Next, let's make use of the inner class to handle the reading messages from the server. For the reference, I'll just comment this one and write inner class to handle reading messages from the server. This is fine. I'll just keep private class read messages. Just give me a second. Yeah. Just keep implements runnable. So in this case, let me give public void run. So yeah, string let me give server message. Just make use of the server message variable name of the string data type, right? So this looks good. Next, let me make use of the try and catch log. So inside the try, what I'll do, let's make use of the loop to read the messages from the server. In my case, I'll just make use of the while loop and give server message, right? Server message read line. So if this is not equal to null, then let me give s out server message. This is fine. We are just printing the messages from the server here. This is fine. Next, let's make use of catch to catch the errors, right? In my case, I'll just give input output exception. Let me give print tag trace, the first one, where we are just handling the exceptions here. This looks good till here. Next, finally, let's implement the main method to run the client. We have to, right? I'll just comment this one and write main method to run the client. For that, I'll just come here, public static void main string args. In my case, I'll just make use of throws, input output exception. Let me give new chat client. Let's connect to the local server at the port 12345. If you remember, we have given somewhere here 12345, right? We have made use of the port 12345. So here, what shall we do? Let's connect to the local server at port 12345. I'll just keep 127.0.0.1 here. The port, I'll just give 12345. This is fine. I've missed the semicolon, I think. Yeah, this is fine. This looks good, right? Any mistake or any this thing? This looks good. Let's run the code. So here it is asking enter your name, right? So just give me a second. I'll just make this one capital E so that this looks good. Let's wait. Let's wait for some time. Yeah, here now this is asking to enter the name. I'll just give Bharadwaj 1 in my case. So Bharadwaj 1 has joined the chat. You can see here, this is showing Bharadwaj 1 has joined the chat. Let's type the message, hi, how are you? So Bharadwaj 1, hi, how are you? This is showing. So we have connected only one client, right? We can connect the multiple client as well. So what I'll do, I'll just come here. Let me hover on new and give chat client. So come here. Let me come here and copy the entire code. So let me paste it over here. I'll just change the name to from chat client to chat client to. Here also I'll just change the name from chat client to chat client 2. So now let's run this code as well, right? Let's wait for some time. Now you can see here it is asking to enter the name. I'll just give Bharadwaj 2 in my case. So Bharadwaj 2 has joined the chat. I'll just come here for the first client. Here, see, Bharadwaj 1, hi, how are you? Now this is showing Bharadwaj 2 has joined the chat. This looks good, right? I'll just come here, chat client 2. Let me enter something. Hi, Bharadwaj 1. How are you? Sorry. How are? Just press enter. This is showing, hi Bharadwaj 1, how are you? I'll just come here. You can see, hi, how are you? Hi Bharadwaj 1, how are you? This is saying, I'll just reply, I'm fine. Let me come here. So I'll just press enter. This is showing, I am fine. I'll just come to chat client 2. This is showing, I am fine, right? So this is working completely. This is working correctly, right? Even the server. So yeah, this is working correctly, right? This is it. Thanks for watching, guys.